Greetings and welcome to Mount Olympus. I am Hercules Invictus, and today on our Herculean special, we will be discussing the sons of Hercules resurrected. We'll be discussing the quest for optimal wellness and several other topics of great import, especially to those who are trying to get their health in order. I have with me fellow sons of Hercules, Micharl del Russi and Setna of Khemet. Greetings, gentlemen. How are you?
Oh, hello there,
Very
Hercules.
good.
We're very well, I hope. I can't speak for
Great to be
Michael.
with you.
Great
Can't
to
Great to
speak
be
for
with
Michael,
you.
but I know I'm doing pretty well. I've had a wonderful
Uh,
week so far, and it's only Monday.
That is fantastic. May your week continue to go as it's been going.
Well,
And
remember, we have 8 more days until Mercury retrograde is over. The station will go direct upon the 8th for sure. They say the 7th, but I always give it an extra day.
um,
I
I,
didn't know we.
I'll go
I
ahead.
didn't know we were in. I didn't know we were in retrograde.
Oh boy, Darby, Michael. I have 7 out of 9 planets in Virgo, and Virgo is
hmm
ruled by Mercury. So trust me, I know we are.
hmm Oh, I believe you. I believe you. What's happening all over the world is really frightening right now.
It's
Actually.
quite true, but it was what manifested. People wanted to change. They got the
hmm
wrong change, and now they're suffering. It's
Well,
the old saying of who's sorry now. So be it. We will learn and we will grow. That's all we can do.
yes.
That is the best way to go always. Um, right now, the quest for optimal wellness has changed a little bit. For a very long time, I was a chairperson of several initiatives in my town. One, the Access for All committee, which deals with Americans with disabilities. I was on Stigma Free. I was the chairperson of that committee, and that focuses on mental health and mental illness. And also, I was a champion of the mayor's wellness campaign for many years. My health is no longer what it was, so I stepped down from those responsibilities. And because I can't not do something, it's against my nature. I've started these initiatives, or I've restarted some initiatives to kind of fill the void. And one of the things is I looked at our Herculean physique shows and how they were evolving and what people were saying, and decided to expand that a little bit to include more than just the bodybuilding, but to include things like getting older, men's imagery, female imagery, and things like that. So we have Mondays are greatly dedicated to that, and also other people's interpretations of the Olympian lifestyle. So we have at least three people that I've had on the show before who they have their own things that they do, and this way we can integrate them into what we're doing. And today I wanted to talk about some of the ways I'm pulling this together and how you guys fit into it, and to hear your ideas to see how we can make it even better. One is by sharing here in this podcast what each of us are doing for our health. We're all folks in our 60s and 70s. And I have many more folk in their 60s, 70s, or even 80s who are wrestling with health issues and doing what they can to keep themselves on the path of optimal wellness. So we created the show Wrestling GERAS, and GERAS in Greek is the god or the demon of old age. And no stories survive, but depictions on pottery show Hercules wrestling with old age. And sometimes it looks like he's trouncing old age, and other times they're speaking like old friends. So my interpretation of that after much meditation is that do what you can to prevent old age from coming. It's going to come. And at some point, you're going to have to come to terms with that and to accept it and accept the blessings that brings. So that'll be right in the beginning of each of those shows. And both of you have been on that show, The Wrestling Get Us. And I want to hear your thoughts on how we can make that even better.
Okay. Where shall we start?
In the beginning,
Well, it's always best to start at the beginning, I understand. So many people have said. As for myself, I'm 66. I am not what I was. I don't walk like I used to. And I am walking now two to 5 miles a day.
Wow.
I used to walk 8 to 10, but as I say, I'm 66. The body is not doing that anymore. I have taken a retinue of about 18 different kind of food supplements, vitamin supplements, herbs and such, which have really greatly improved my health. Um, I take, for general health, I take turmeric, which sort of makes everything else work better, I find. I take a great deal of about 4,000 milligrams of vitamin C, which works, of course, for your respiratory as well as circulatory system, which helps. If you're taking vitamin C, don't take it alone. I tell everyone vitamin C has a co-agent, and that is B complex. People say to me, "Oh, Michael, I take B12." Well, that's one of, I think it's 9 different components of B complex. It's better to take all of them. And in the vitamin C, I also take a product called citrus bioflavonoids, which was something I learned about years and years ago when I worked for General Nutrition Centers, um, which people don't know I did, but that's okay.
You become more remarkable each conversation we have.
Well, I learned a lot while I was working there. I knew, I had a tertiary knowledge of vitamins and minerals and herbology and things. But going to GNC, I learned a great deal more. I don't mean to push them, but they were very good at educating people on vitamins and on minerals and on different herbal supplements. It was very important, I thought.
Yeah,
So I,
I had a conversation with both of you, and both of you told me the same thing. So I pay attention to when the universe does that, especially from people that I respect. And it was on brain health and the vitamins to take for brain health. And Michael had given my wife some suggestions, so I made sure that whatever I didn't already have, I purchased it. So I have L-arginine, L-carnitine, uh, and a couple of other vitamins that Michael suggested. So I'm taking those every day now. And you had both suggested fish oil. So
yes.
I got fish oil, so I'm taking fish oil every day. With the vitamin that you recommended, now I'm drawing a blank on the vitamin. Uh, the one turmeric.
Well, that's an herb, but yes, and it's well known in India, of course. Um, but I'm also taking quinol now and krill oil, which helps a great deal. Those are more, krill oil seems to be synthesized into the body faster. I was taking just different fish oils. CoQ10 is what is necessary from the fish oil, and you can get that in both, in plain old fish oil, or you can get it in very fancy, expensive things. Most of my vitamin shopping is from CVS and Walmart. So
They
because
have
of my
good sales.
budget. Mhm.
Yeah, they have good sales there. I also have COQ10. It's not one of my dailies, but it's in my vitamins that I take at least once or twice a week. But my doctor recommended alpha lipoic acid as well. So I've been taking
And
both.
B3 is very important. That works on your bones. I work with it with magnesium and phosphorus and also potassium. If you get leg cramps, potassium is vital. And it's something we lose. I mean, people tell me, "Oh, Michael, I've eaten a banana." Well, a banana doesn't have enough potassium. It's sufficient, but then don't forget you're going to digest that because it's a food. So you're not getting the benefit. I tell everyone also, B and C vitamins are water soluble vitamins.
Right.
That means if you don't use them, you're going to lose them real fast. So you should take time released. I used to call it keloid. No, that's the wrong word, but time released.
Oh, I know the time release vitamins.
Time released, and also you have to be careful with vitamin A, D, and B, A, D, and E, because all of those are oil soluble
Fat
vitamins.
soluble, yeah.
Those are necessary to be taken in organic forms. The problem is if you get them, where they're basically gasoline, petroleum. A lot of vitamin E is petroleum. You want to get DA tocopherol, not DL tocopherol. DA tocopherol comes from soybean and other natural vegetable sauces. DL tocopherol, frankly, is petroleum. You might as well chew on Vaseline. Not a very good idea.
No. Michael, you also are an expert in vitamins. I used to keep track of all that much more when I was younger than what I do now, although I'm taking
Mhm.
more vitamins now than I did when I was younger. And you prepared a presentation for us today.
Yes, well, I have a very special resource that I'd very willing to mail out to anyone who requests it, and I'm very excited about it. My calling has been the last 30, 35 years, I guess, that I'm involved in holistic nutrition, is that I want to be able to provide the people with information that might not be readily available. But I feel, and this may be a bit futuristic, I think it still is, that it's absolutely necessary, and that's simply making suggestions from the standpoint of functional health and cellular health that might not be readily available in terms of useful information from other sources. That's what I've been called to do. I've been involved with the Life Extension Foundation, I guess now for 30 years,
Wow.
and I have some new reports tonight. But I prepared a concepts of aging special resource. It's a 4-page resource, and what I basically do with this is I cover the 3 major areas of aging as we know it, and what we might do to slow it down, little by little, taking baby steps, more or less on a daily basis. What can we do? And I believe I'm firmly settled in terms of some of the things that we can do that can slow chronic inflammation down. We know acute inflammation is necessary. That, when we suffer a cut or an injury yes, the body responds with acute inflammation. But it's when we suffer chronic inflammation that things become a problem. That's why I also encourage everyone, at least once a year, besides getting your standard CBC and what have you, that you might want to consider getting an inflammation panel, which basically consists of an ANA and getting your SED rate checked. Again, my experience has been most physicians, even the good ones, are not going to automatically tell you this. But I think especially when we reach this age, it's vitally important. So, and finances permitting, I would recommend this to anyone. I just had it done for this year, and I'm thankful that everything came out normal, and as far as my immune system is concerned, and I would recommend this to anyone. So when you get your standard blood work, you might want to ask your doctor, can I get my immune system checked? And that's one blood test is called an ANA, and the other is a SED rate, to give you a general idea of whether your immune system is working in what we consider the normal range. But I have prepared a 4-page special report called The Concepts of Aging. And I cover all of the major theories of aging very precisely. It's not extensive. It's easy to read, and I think everyone should have a copy. And basically, we start with the free radical theory of aging, which everyone is basically familiar with. And I just read some research the other day too, which I didn't think much about or renew my meditations on until recently, about how free radicals can attack collagen. And so far, I've seen nothing but positive reports on collagen peptides. I continue to recommend them unless I find out otherwise that there's something detrimental down the road. But so far, I've seen some very interesting studies on collagen peptides. So I take them myself every day. I've noticed something very interesting on my own. This is anecdotal, of course, but there's no question in my mind it's happening. Since I've been using them, the hair on my forearms has turned very black and
Oh,
gotten
wow.
gotten very long. And if I didn't see it with my own eyes, this is actual reporting. There's no exaggerating here. I wouldn't believe it. But the hair on the top of my forearms is very black and has gotten so long that I've never seen. And the only thing I can attribute that to is the collagen that I've been using. So I think that, and we know that the free radical activity, that's the main culprit in terms of preventing us from maintaining healthy collagen. So besides our antioxidants, and we know the main ones, and I'll just mention vitamin C, and Michael was right, bioflavonoids should be included with your vitamin C, vitamin E, zinc, the carotenoids, garlic, selenium, and that's just a handful. Alpha lipoic acid, and of course, you can't take 100 pills a day, but get the main ones in order, and I think they're really the most effective ones when it comes to slowing the process of free radical activity. So in this special report, it's 4 pages, it's very well printed, very nice package. We cover the 3 major theories of aging, which is the free radical theory, the RNA DNA theory of aging, which has been around quite a while, which I still feel is prominent. Then we cover chronic inflammation, and acute inflammation is a temporary response to, again, when our body's suffering an illness or an injury. But chronic inflammation is when there's something else going on. So then you turn to diet, and what are the functional changes we can make in terms of diet? And we're familiar with most of them: processed foods, refined foods, high sugar, deep fried foods, and foods high in saturated fat. I still believe with all of my heart and soul that the keto popularity, a keto wave, if you will, is singularly responsible. And I may have mentioned this on your program
Yes,
as far back as 4 years ago. The rise in basically colon cancer amongst young people has become alarming. And I speculated then on the possibility that when their parents, their guardians, whatever the case might be, their elders are telling them, well, fat's not a problem anymore. It's not fat. You can eat all the cheeseburgers, hamburgers you want. Sugar is the main culprit. Now, I've been standing consistently on the side of Dr. Dean Ornish, which is he reversed heart condition in areas where most experts say it cannot be done, and other physicians who feel that animal fat is still a major problem. And lo and behold, the last 4 years, maybe perhaps 5, there's been a frightening increase in cancers amongst young people. I just read a case in a 28-year-old girl died from cancer that she had no idea she had, colon cancer. And so, look, I don't have the chemical evidence lying here in front of me, but 2 and 2 still make 4 most of the time, at least in this dimension. And so I'm very concerned. I'm very concerned. I've seen physicians interviewed on religious channels, on science channels, who will talk about the dangers of sugar, the dangers of processed foods, and on we go, but not even mention the overconsumption of animal fat and its potential dangers. And it was proven as far back as 30 years ago, actually farther, that animal fat, saturated fat can be inflammatory. And abhorrent cells can hide in fat cells. Abhorrent can hide in the fat cells from animals. So it's amazing to me how professionals who've been in the medical field so many years can be caught up in the wave of fads, and they are. They absolutely are. Because how can you dismiss 60 years of studies that have shown the complete opposite? That overconsumption of animal fat contributes mainly to hormonal-driven cancers. And what are they? Breast cancer, prostate cancer, and in some cases, colon cancer. And that was proven like as far back as 3 decades ago. And here we are, we're totally ignoring these studies. Oh, well, that was bogus science, or that's outdated science. So I would caution everyone, I'm not telling people to, go vegetarian. It's not my job and not my calling. But what I am saying is be aware that there's still a danger in the overconsumption of animal fat. And that's where my main concern is right now.
I agree with you, Michael, but you have to remember something else. Americans, especially male Americans, have one serious problem when it comes to prostate cancer, and they found a common denominator. Almost
Mhm.
all males between the ages of 18 and I guess death consume a great deal of beer, and that has in it different kinds of yeasts most of the time,
Mhm.
and it's been distilled, and it's been proven that those particular yeasts encourage prostate cancer. They've also found that soybean, if you in great deal, because in Asia they're used to tolerating this thing, but
Mhm.
Americans have been consuming soybeans probably, oh, I don't know, what, 100 years, and in
Yeah, I would say
Not that
so.
long a time comparatively.
the scheme of things, that's not very much. So our tolerance for them is not so good, and that also causes and helps cause prostate cancer and
Mhm.
also colon cancer because your body isn't able to synthesize the soybean oil. And,
Mhm.
that's a problem as well. And that was something that when I was in Florida in the 1980s, and people were going on and on about vegetarianism, and they were talking about, oh, yes, and everything is made of soy. But then they started to see this thing with prostate cancer and also ovarian cancer encouraged, encouraged
Mhm.
by soybean. So you have to watch that too. I agree with you. We can't all do 100% veggie. By
Right.
anthropology, we have ripping and tearing teeth for meat. We have grinding and chewing teeth for vegetables and legumes and nuts and seeds and things. We are, by anthropology, by biology, we are
Mhm.
omnivorous. We have a choice.
Mhm.
We can either be all vegetarian. We can, unfortunately, some idiots can be all carnivore, which is crazy.
Mhm.
The best diet, still, according to my doctors and my nutritionists and things, is
Mhm.
a balanced diet that has some
Mhm.
fat. Now, when I cook, for instance, a hamburger or something, I
Mhm.
will make that out of the leanest meat, and I make sure that all the fat that's in there drains out. I use
Mhm.
an air fryer which has no oil in it, so I'm cooking, and then all the oil, all the fat, all the junk drains out, and what I get is the protein, and that's the
Right.
important, and that's much safer. And that's another
Mhm.
thing. You're right. Um, I'm from a Germanic and English and Polish family, and we like
Mhm.
our pork. So
Right.
pork
Mhm.
is a very fatty food. We know that, and
Mhm.
so that caused a great deal of harm. And I noticed, my grandmother's people getting all kinds of stomach cancers and things. And I do relate that to the fat. I agree with you, Michael, 100%.
Mhm. Well,
Yeah,
yeah, I appreciate
here,
that, and I.
go
Mhm.
ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Here, I'm not of the same mind. I'm finding that, basically everyone is different, and I experiment a lot, as you know. And I found
Mhm.
that I am healthier and more free of symptoms when I'm consuming a high protein, high fat, low carbohydrate diet. And I'm not talking about bad carbohydrates. I'm talking about even when I increase my vegetables and healthy
Mhm.
vegetables, I'll start developing symptoms like a higher blood pressure and a higher blood sugar level. So
Mhm.
if I keep my vegetable carbohydrate consumption very, very low, I tend to do better,
Mhm.
and it lowers my blood sugar.
You are you're 100% Greek, and your ancestors were hunters. And from biology, you were a meat eater. And so
Right.
you're not wrong that way too. My ancestors, my birth ancestors, were hunter gatherers, but they were also farmers. And it's different. And we have to bring that into who people are. you know People from North Africa were all carnivores. They didn't have agrarian things. Egyptians, yes, they had wheats and grains and things, but if you go to East Africa, you don't have that. You have hunters. If you go to Italy and things, you have people that were eating mostly vegetables, but later they were, when they met with other cultures, they were eating meat. You know, they didn't have it. They didn't have goats and chickens and fish and cows and things. They had fish, that's true. The Phoenicians, for instance, and the people along the Red Sea all ate fish more than anything else. And from my, I grew up on Long Island.
Long Island, yes.
Long Island,
I lived
yeah.
on Long Island for many years.
I grew up in Long Island. I'm from Uniondale. But my grandmother and grandfather owned a Silly Lily fishing station in East Moriches, which is in Suffolk County. And I ate fish. Most of the time, we were having fresh clams, fresh flounder, all different whiting, all kinds of things, but right out of the boat. You know, so I learned at a very early age the benefits of fish oils, you know, and the fatty oils from those things. I don't eat bluefish because I find it's too oily. But you know, fish are very important in my diet even now. And unfortunately, I've moved to Savannah, and I am in the fry capital of the world. They fry everything. I think they'd fry the air if they could. You know, I mean, chicken, fish, vegetables, fried green tomatoes. You know, all of that stuff. So I've had to really look at that, and I've had to try to take my housemate, who is extremely southern, and teach him to use polyunsaturated or, you know, better, healthier healthier oils. Corn oil, for instance, has no cholesterol, you know, and no fat. But you know, they want to use lard, good old Crisco, the old fashioned one.
Oh my God.
And
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
I can't even get that stuff near me.
on a meat
I
diet,
remember
high protein,
my
high fat,
grandmother using it.
Oh, of course, you're Italian, Michael. I'm sure they use a
tallow.
lot of pork fat and beef fat.
Oh my God. The lard they used to call it.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, Athena makes me a tallow soup made from the leftover fat from beef, and I put collagen peptides in it, and I put the collagen peptides in my yogurt as well. Going back to what Michael Russi was talking about a little earlier. Um,
If you
I,
I
go,
think
I'm so it's good that
there's
we're not sta-
benefits.
it's good that we're not standing exactly in the same place because we get the different perspectives, and each of us is a different person with different body chemistry. So different
Hmm.
things are going to work for each of us. And as long as we're open and sharing where if something doesn't work, um, before Michael continues with his presentation, I've been trying energy healing. I believe in it, and before I had the neuropathy, I used to be able to do it really well. I used to be able to build up a lot of energy and direct the energy. So I'm a firm believer that that works. But I never really tried Reiki, and so I never really got too overly involved with the chakras. So I figure I haven't tried it, let me try it. So I've been reading up on those and experimenting with those. Can I ask you what your experiences and opinion are of chakras and Reiki?
Uh,
oh my,
I personally, I personally do not do Reiki, but I do a white light meditation,
Okay.
which I learned about mostly from studying with the mystery school Astera, which I know you're familiar with.
Yes,
Uh,
an Asterian in need never walks alone. I remember.
that's right. That's yeah. And in their first degree manual, they have a pretty clear description of how to do it, how they recommend you perform it. What's interesting is I've been working on my shoulders. I have two very bad shoulders, and I'm taking in the white light from the top of your forehead, and you just visualize that white light saturating your body. They call it the light of the Christ, and I agree with that. Whatever you assume the Christ may be, or could be, or is, and I definitely feel a difference. And I deliberately ordered the white light to reduce the pain in my shoulders. I directed the white light as a thought form, if you will, and they go into quite a bit of detail where thought forms are concerned. And I can say that I've noticed that it was briefly, it doesn't last, but the pain in my shoulders is considerably less when utilizing a white light meditation. So I work with the white light, and I can feel it. And while it's coming through the top of my head, saturating my body, my two palms are out. My palms are uplifted to the universe, and I can feel the pressure and the heat in both my palms. I imagine two beams of light hitting my palms while I'm saturating my body with this eternal light. And I can say with absolute certainty that I feel the physiological effects of this meditation. So it's not exactly Reiki, but it is energy healing. And I feel a difference. I feel a difference. Now, have you experienced any physiological difference yet? Or you've just begun the program? What has been your
I'm
experience?
beginning to focus on Reiki and the chakras. I've done other
Mhm,
healing programs. Basically, I work with the golden white energy that I identify with
mhm,
Olympus more. I've worked with
mhm,
blue energy. I'm very attuned
mhm,
to that. I know that Setna is as well, and he does healing with cobalt colored crystals. And cobalt is my
mhm,
favorite color, so I'm very receptive to it. And he sent
mhm,
healing my way, and I get healing from the night sky. With the sky right before it turns dark is that cobalt color, so that's a time of great energy for me. And I felt a
mhm,
reduction of symptoms. Other people have recorded and reported a reduction of symptoms as well. But my
mhm,
neuropathy makes it difficult for me to form the balls of energy, the balls of heat, and to direct it as well as I used to. So
mhm,
I found something new that works for me lately, but I'm still playing with it. I focus on my pulse in those afflicted
mhm,
areas. And then I see the
mhm,
energy radiating through my pulse. And that's been helping.
mhm, mhm. Well, look, I think, universal energy is in and around all of us. And it's here, science has validated that in a number of ways. So I think anything we can do to tap into this energy that is available to us, uh, we owe it to ourselves to do it, especially now that we're reaching our twilight years, so to speak. A couple of things I did want to mention too quickly that Micharl had touched upon. Number one, when it comes to metastatic diseases, more so than cardiovascular disease, no one is immune. I don't care if you're a vegetarian, if you're a carnivore, if you're on the keto, no one is immune. There's no guarantee when it comes to
Right.
cancer. There isn't. But in my years of study, I feel that the three healthiest diets are probably, and I know this is, I think, a World News Report, the MAGA World News Report has voted the Mediterranean diet, I think 5 years in a row, as probably the healthiest diet in the world. Second diet, I believe, mainly a vegetarian diet is preferable. That doesn't mean you have to abandon meat completely, and I don't overburden anyone with that belief just because I do it. Everybody's different, as you so rightfully pointed out. And the third diet, I think, would be the DASH diet, which is similar to the Mediterranean diet and the vegetarian diet, which is mainly recommended by the American Heart Association because it seems to have proven itself in terms of lowering blood pressure and cholesterol. So I think the Mediterranean diet, the vegetarian diet, and the DASH diet, for my money, are probably the healthiest diets. And again, let me emphasize that doesn't mean eliminating protein completely, protein foods. For me, it does. I use protein supplements. I feel good with it. I feel good with what I'm doing. But I do believe, whenever possible, keep the saturated fats to a minimum. I think as far as your cardiovascular health and inflammation, I think most people should see some improvement in those areas. The only other thing I wanted to mention quickly is Micharl was talking about the Orient and soy. But I do want to mention that while he is right in that area, there have been some benefits that have been noticed, I don't know, for the last 30 years, that the two polyphenols, mainly diadezian is one and genistein is the other, both from soy, have shown dramatic anti-cancer properties, especially when it comes to breast cancer. Genistein has been isolated by some major vitamin producers here in the States and has been shown to be remarkably effective in these areas. So that's genistein and diadezian. And the other thing is that There was one major study. I think it's still ongoing, as a matter of fact, has shown conclusively that when individuals from the Orient, whether it be Japan or China, who have more or less lived by their traditional diets, as they moved west, mainly to Hawaii, the incidence of breast cancer specifically is dramatically increased in women, in Oriental women. That was shown as far back again as 20 or 30 years ago. When they come and start eating like we do, the rate of hormone-driven cancers increases. And the studies have also shown that in men, prostate cancer began to increase in Oriental men. So, there's an obvious difference there. There's an obvious change. So while, yes, there's still speculation that soy may not be the healthiest thing, and I agree with Michael on that point, and that every individual is different, it's also been shown that when they move west, the incidence of metastatic disease increases dramatically. So I just thought that make those 2 points as something to consider anyway.
Those are very good points. We're going to move a little further to cover all the topics in the program, but we're going to continue talking about this, I'm sure, as our journey progresses. The other thing is that getting people information. So this podcast is one way that we can share information and share our journeys so that other people can help themselves to understand the process they're going through if they see it reflected in our particular journeys. But I have always donated books. So I have a lifetime full of books on health that are no longer relevant to me or my particular journey on my quest for optimal wellness. So I've been giving them away. And now I'm doing that systematically and offering to my communities first. And you guys are both in my community. So you get these emails or a telephone conversation about what's available, what I'm giving away this month. And my group that comes to my home once a month, they also have access to this. Then my email community that is not local and doesn't meet with me monthly or weekly or at any point in time at present. So I'm making sure that these go out to people who could use them. And then whatever is not used, that gets donated to the library or some other institution. So I started with physical health, and now I'm starting to collect books on mental health and put them together. So there'll be like a mental health month. And then I'm going to also include mental health in terms of new thought, in terms of mental attitude, in terms of manifestation and motivation and things like that. So I can't take any of these books with me. And being in the winter of my years, there's less time ahead of me than there is behind me. I doubt if I'm going to live to my 120s. So these books will do me no good if I'm in the ground. So I'm trying to find them homes now and give them to people who could use them. And this way, again, I'm no longer going to use them. I'm no longer going to read them. So maybe somebody else might. And I know both of you have been very generous in things that you've offered as well. So I wanted to see if we can improve that or what your thoughts are of that aspect of the quest for optimal wellness.
On the Perteru were sites, both on the Instagram and on Facebook. I have mailing reading lists for things that I've worked with over the years. Some of the books I've had, because I've moved so much recently, had disappeared mysteriously or they've been given away. So, but I have the names and titles, authors, publishers of the books, and I'm letting those out too. For instance, there's a wonderful book on herbs, which is called The Herb Book by a man named John Lust.
I remember
And
Cough
it is a
too.
great book. I got it when I, again, from GNC. It's a Nutra book, and it's a very, very detailed book on herbs and oils and such. It also tells you in America where to find them. So if you're trudging around in the woods and use this book as a reference material so that if you're checking out mushrooms and things, that you don't bite into something that might end up killing you. So I'm working with those things. You talked about the chakra, and as you do know, I do work with the cobalt energy. I always keep
Right.
my cobalt stones, which shine very brightly here, um, with me. Cobalt is the most powerful light as far as healing goes, and it will go to the forehead. It will go to the heart chakra, but cobalt energy. We have two different kinds of blood. We have red blood, which is the one that is going through the hearts and lungs and refreshing everything. And then we have blue blood, which is the dirty blood. And so that has to go. Well, the cobalt energy takes that dirty blood and makes it more rapidly remove the energy from that, and you'll feel better. And so you, for instance, Hercules, when you were sick a few months ago, I sent you a small picture of my cobalt. And even the pictures work to help people over the years. I also use green to help people reach out for prosperity. I use a cornelian to help people use to work with making decisions and concentration. I use a black tourmaline, which I always wear, to remove negative energy. It sends it back to where it came from. I call it the ta-ta stone. Ta-ta! You know, I use white crystal for clarity, and you can use, if you're rich enough, you can use diamonds, but I'm a little poor mortal, and so I have my little crystals, and these little guys will help me send and direct energy where I need it to go. I've gathered. You have books. I have enough crystals to build a crystal castle. And so I've been giving those away too, as you know. And then unfortunately, I find them on, as you know, Etsy or Temu, and I buy more. But I'm also working with different things now. I'm creating wands. I think I showed you this one last week, which I did create from Michael Del Russi. I wish you could see it, Michael.
Wow, it's
Um,
beautiful.
It is beautiful, and it's covered with cobalt stones, and there are clear crystals and red crystals for passion, and it's a good way to bring the energy into someone, without changing how they feel about the world and things. I don't identify any kind of a god force when I work with anything. I don't say, it's this kind of god, or that kind, or this kind of being, because it's the universe. It's above the human mortal realms, and I won't go that way. We on Earth have our opinions or our thoughts of things, but they're not universal. But I call you would call the God force the All High. That is all gods, all goddesses, all that power, kind of like what you have in Star Wars, the Force. Well, to me, that's the all high in my own traditions, and only in my own traditions. And I don't push that on anybody else. I call that energy Atum or Temu. And, I laughed when I saw Timu because it's a resource. But Temu is everything. It is the unmoved mover, the all high. And so I use the words in general vernacular, the all high, because it encompasses everything. That way you can be Zeus, you can be Jehovah, you can be Buddha, you can be whatever you want. And that way it doesn't have a name on it. It just is. And in the Bible it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. So the word, the energy, we use in Egypt, we use tehute, thought, bringing the energy out, the words of power. So and meditation, when you think about something and you're keeping that energy out there, and you're pushing it out there, that's going to help you a great deal. As I say, I keep it kind of generic that way so that anyone can use that energy. I don't call it anything from any tradition at all. I think that limits us, and we can't do that. We are a group of people who are teachers. We are philosophers. We are instructors, and therefore we have to keep the structure. People tune out when you do that. I mean, I have an Egyptian background, and yes, I'm wearing Egyptian and pagan jewelry, but that's who I am. I'm not saying to someone, this is what you should do. I'm saying this
Mhm.
is what I do. And, you know, um, I find my energy works better that way to be who I am, be who you are. You know, God in the biblical sense said, I am who I am. And that's, you know, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, be who you are. And let the energy go that way.
I'm glad we're the
Well, I
same
thought,
in that. So much of the world's disturbance comes from not looking at the world that way.
Well, there's a problem in the earth, and it's been going on for thousands of years, and it's called dogma. You know, do
well,
it my way, only my way. I'll do it my way. And I can't do that. I was raised, well, my father's mother was Catholic, she's Polish Catholic. And so my father's mother said to my rather weak grandfather, Edwin, the children will be raised Catholic, right? And so my grandfather did what all men like that do and said, yes, dear. And so my father went to Catholic school. My mother, on the other hand, was Lutheran, which to a Catholic is a horrifying thing to be, because Lutherans believe in exactly the opposite. And they say, sin bravely, charge, you know, and Catholics would have a heart attack, and they don't believe in all the Catholic things. And yet my mother's father was Church of England, which of course Henry VIII created. And so what happened to me? I followed my other grandfather and my other grandmother. I'm a witch. I followed pagan ways. I found using the energy of the universe and getting in touch with the nature on this planet and beyond made me feel better. And
Mhm.
what happened was I found that the Egyptian traditions, for me, I'm not saying for anybody else, for me, gave me the way I see God. You know, and that's how we got to do it. You got to look, find your own, like Mama Cass said, make your own kind of music, right? Sing your own song. Be who
Exactly.
you are.
I think
Very, very true.
you're so very right in what you say. Dogma, religious dogma has done more to handicap those of us who are seeking universal energy, the universal source, to handicap us than perhaps nothing else. Uh, you know, if I mention Christ consciousness, if there's a room with three quarters metaphysicians, they may walk the other way, or Hindus, or they may not. The point is that Christ consciousness is available to everyone. The Christ
Mhm.
consciousness is just a term. That's all it is. It's just a term, the anointed one in
It's
Greek.
actually a Greek word. Did you know that, Michael?
Right.
Christos is a Greek word, and Sophia is the other half.
And it means
Right.
different things. So if Paul was talking to the audience on the Rock of Ares at the Parthenon at the Acropolis, um, they would know what he's talking about. Christos spelled with an ita means a good
Mhm.
person. So if you were like a Mason or something like that, where you benefited the community through community works, you were Christ. And cemeteries are full of people with Christ in their name from the early centuries. If you spelled Christ with an epsilon iota to make the E sound, it means you were an oracle. So oracles were Christi. And if you spelled it with an I or a iota, then it meant that you were anointed in the sense that most people identify with Christianity these days. But the word Christ had several different meanings. And if you're listening to it in an audience, unless that's pointed out, and it doesn't seem to be, it's deliberately left confusing. So it
There's a
is.
great deal of, I'm sorry, forgive me.
Okay. No, it is universal in its most ancient sense as well.
I was going to say, after the medieval period, there was a great deal of what I'll call stupidity that happened. You know, they said that the man's name, instead of being Jesu Bar Joseph, which was his name, Jesu Bar Joseph, was
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. So that he was Mr. and Mrs. Jesus Christ. That's not his name. Jesus Christus was the title they gave him,
Mhm.
you know, and that just got crazy, and people don't realize that. But my housemate and I were talking about when he was in school. Now he's a Southern Baptist, okay,
Mhm.
and they have a very interesting view of things. When he said he was in high school talking to a girl next to him who was a Catholic, who had a heart attack when he told her in no uncertain terms that Jesu Bar Joseph was Jewish. And she said, "Oh, no, 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 no. Jesus was a Christian." And he, he said, "Listen, lady, you know, I don't know if you realize it, but the Last Supper was, you know, a Seder." And when he went
Yeah.
into the Bible, when he went into the temple, when he was 13 years old, and he was reading from scripture, they call that a bar mitzvah. And that's what that was. And she said, no, 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 no. And yes, 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 yes. You know,
Oh,
he was from
you have
his mother,
some
Miriam, not Mary. Miriam was her real name, was from the
yeah,
house
some
of
Christians.
David. She was from the house
Yeah.
of David, and he was royal. And the real reason
Mhm.
that Herod Agrippa went after him, and it was Herod Agrippa who, and Antipas was the one that went after him when he was a child. Herod Agrippa went after him was because he was a contender for the throne. The Romans couldn't handle that, and so they handed it
No.
to the Pharisees because Herod had to deal with it because it was his country, and also Pilate was a coward. He washed his hands of the whole thing, and we're getting near Easter, so it's important to get those facts out there. I think,
Mhm.
when you talk about Christ.
Right. Well, when the word Christian, as far as I didn't even exist when he
No, of
walked the
course
earth. They
not.
called him his movement was called the Way of the Nazarene. I mean,
Hmm.
it didn't. The word Christian didn't even exist at that time.
Of
But
course not.
doctrinal Christians and evangelicals as well, without itemizing them or specifying denominations, they're so uptight in this area. I think there's a book out there. I think I may have sent it to Hercules. I hope I sent him a copy, which is very enlightening. It's called Jesus Taught It Too.
Yes, you sent me a copy.
Did I send you a copy of that?
Yes, yes, you did.
Yes,
Another
the
book you might
ancient.
want to look at, Michael, is something called The Passover Plot. It's very
Mm-mm,
interesting. It talks about
I've heard of
Joseph,
that.
Joseph and Miriam, and
Mm-hmm.
some things that were said about how when 13-year-old or 14-year-old Miriam became
Mm-hmm.
pregnant by 32-year-old Joseph, who was
Uh-huh.
tinkering around in the house, and he tinkered around with her. So,
No.
and then they ran to Egypt. Everybody always runs to Egypt. Did you ever notice that?
Yeah, you're right about that. Well, the thing
Everything's
is, that
wrong. They all picture Egypt as bad, but they keep running there. Please
they
explain
keep
this to
running
me.
there. There must be a reason for it. There has to be a good
We're,
reason for it.
we're going to move on a little bit because we only have 7 minutes left.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Okay.
I promised things at the beginning of the telecast. Um, I am currently in an organizing stage. I've organized organizations and groups before throughout my life. And now, again, I'm in the winter of my year, so I'm organizing certain things. And although I am open to universal spirituality, and in fact, I'm very theosophical, universalist, and Unitarian in my own spirituality, I do, like Setna and like Micharl, I tend to resonate with particular cultural symbols for spirituality. And with me, it's Olympus. So I'm using the Olympian mythology to create symbolism for what I'm currently doing. And the quest for optimal wellness falls under the Argo, the quest for the Golden Fleece.
Mm,
The Golden Fleece, one of its properties, what it had the power to heal, to restore. So that's why the Golden Fleece is a symbol for this particular quest. And the Argo is one of the biggest constellations in the night sky. It's mostly in the south, but it was so big that astronomers broke it into three parts. They broke it into the sails, the poop deck, and the keel. So there's a lot of symbolism in that as well. So I name you both Argonauts if you'd like to be named Argonauts.
oh, yes, please.
So you're both officially
Absolutely.
Argonauts, and I will,
Absolutely.
in future shows when we have time, share some of the symbolism and open myself up to your interpretation so we could enrich the symbolism that is going to bind us together in this particular quest. And both of you are, again, very generous with your time, very generous with your resources, and very generous in your desire to heal other people. And you both have ministries that are wonderful. So if you could each share how people can get in contact with you and what you offer through your ministry, I think that would be great. So we'll start with Sedna since he was speaking last.
Oh, heavens. Okay, well, you can find me very easily on Facebook at Michael K. Waterman. That's my other incarnation. You can get me at Pernitero Temple in both Facebook and Instagram. What do I offer? Well, I offer elevation. I do training in my particular Kemetic traditions. We go from a student all the way up to high priest or high priestess. I teach people the rituals that we do. I teach them the hieroglyphs, which will be de rigueur to what they're working with. I will teach them about oils and herbs and prayers and ritual tools and some of the amulets and charms we use and the stones that are in them. For instance, my Eye of Horus has a lapis in it for healing, of course. You can also get me at phonawizard.com. Phonawizard is my work, my business, and that will give you other services and things that I can do for you. You can get me at my phone number, 516-650-3691. Like I said, I'm a Long Islander. I haven't given up that phone number. Or you can get me at mkwaterman@icloud.com or through Hercules, of course.
Thank you very much. And Michael?
Well, you can go to my Facebook page, michaeldelrussi.com, or you can message me. And you can write to me. We believe in white light, focused prayer. Whatever you put your attention on develops power. And we believe that with all of our hearts. We believe in new thought, spirituality. And you can write to me with your prayer requests. I would prefer that you write as opposed to type. And we will lay hands upon your prayer request and put it in white light. And you can also request my special concepts of aging report, which I think will be a valuable resource for your holistic healing library. That's absolutely free. It's 4 pages. It's a nice package. And all you have to do is write to me and request it. And that's at Michael Del Russi, 135 Hazel Street, apartment 7E in Clifton, New Jersey, 07011. The Concepts of Aging Resource Special Report is absolutely free to whoever requests it. I'll get it right out in the mail for you.
Thank you so very much. I will be requesting a copy.
Very good.
Looking forward to reading it. I've read your other written material and it's excellent, including your book on poetry. So I'm really looking forward to reading the report. And
Thank you so much.
we have a couple of minutes, and I just wanted to close with something else I promised in the introduction. In Greek mythology and in Greek history, there are the Heraclides, who are called the sons and daughters of Hercules, or the tribe of Hercules. And in the sword and sandal cinema of my youth, I think it was a dozen sword and sandal movies that weren't really related to each other were united under the theme of the Sons of Hercules as a franchise and shown on television. I think half a movie per session, and that had developed a mythology as well. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to use the original Greek mythic and historical stories of the Sons of Hercules mixed in with the sword and sandal stories of the Sons of Hercules, and make that I guess a level of participation. And the qualifying, I guess, mark of this level is that the person, in addition to helping out with whatever we're doing organizationally, is also doing stuff on their own. And both of you are doing wonderful stuff on your own. So I name you both of the tribe of Hercules as well, if you would like that designation.
I'm most honored. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So more to come in the weeks to come. And I believe, if I'm not wrong, that we're talking again on Tuesday. I'll double check my list and give you a call tonight.
I'm retired, so semi-retired. I just phoned a wizard. So yes, I can definitely get involved with anything after 9 o'clock is fine. Like we do now, of course.
Fantastic.
Now,
Michael, tomorrow night?
is that this Tuesday, tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow. I will have to double check because I'm updating on my list, so I might have changed something. But I will get back to both of you, and if we meet tomorrow, if we can meet tomorrow, that'd be great. If not, we'll be talking again to each other very soon. That I have
All right.
both on or off the air. So I want to thank you both,
Okay, very good.
wonderful people, and I'm honored to be your friend and to be on this adventure with you. And I look forward to our next conversation, and I wish you great success in these and all your other endeavors.
The same here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and bless both of you and all that are listening. Life, health, and prosperity to all.
Thank you,
Life,
Michael.
life, health, and prosperity to all. Good night.
Good night now.